Hey guys, Evacso here, welcome to the channel. So I've got realistic sliders for legendary difficulty. I've got two slider sets, and these sliders are after title update 14.1. Pretty sure I haven't updated the legendary sliders since title update 9, so there has been a few changes since then. It's only like 2 or 3 changes in each gameplay title update, so after about 5, that finally is enough to really change something. So the biggest changes would be the run frequency and the fullback positioning. So just basically I want more runs happening, increase both of those by about 10 or so. There just wasn't enough goals really happening, so just trying to increase those chances, more goals. So let's start with the sliders. So these are for the longer halves, so there's 2 slider sets. These are the longer halves, which you can use from 7 minutes up to 10-minute halves. Obviously the difficulty level is legendary, competitive mode on off, and player-based difficulty on off. Now on my camera settings, I got on broadcast camera, height on 0, zoom on 0, and fast focus on 5. Now before I get into the sliders, please like and subscribe if you haven't. Let's get into it. So my CPU sliders, tackle aggression, I've increased these. So increase the run frequency, but I'm also trying to make the defense a bit better. I thought these sliders were getting a little bit too easy, so trying to increase the tackle aggression, just make it a little bit more difficult, but more goals still. So tackle aggression up to 40 from 35, build up speed up from 38 to 40, shot frequency up from 45 up to 48, first touch pass frequency the same at 50, crossing frequency at 70, dribble frequency at 35, and skill move frequency on 50. Let's get in the simulation settings. So I got the sprint speed on 40 for both user and CPU, 49 acceleration for the user, and 50 for the CPU. So before there was a lot of advantages for the CPU, but just now there's just a little bit less advantage in most of the sliders. So shot error at 70 for user and CPU, pass error still on 60 for user and 62 for CPU, shot speed on 48 for both user and CPU. We've got the pass speed on 45 for the user and 46 for the CPU, so just increasing that a little bit more so more chances can happen. Injury frequency, this has gone up from 50 to 60, so this is the first time I've actually changed it all year. I just didn't think it was needed before, but now I'm realizing there's just not enough injuries now, so 60 for user and CPU. Keeping the severity though at 30 for user and CPU. There's just too many injuries where your players are taken out for 4 months or so, and that happens way too often. So goal clip ability on 50 for user and CPU, marking on 73 for the user, and then finally I've actually increased the CPU's marking to 74. Now if you still think these sliders are a little bit too easy, putting these up to 75 it really helps. So let's go to the run frequency. So this has gone up by I think 10 or maybe even more. Yeah, I think I had this on like 55 or something. Just the runs, there needed to be a lot more runs. The wingers and strikers were not making enough runs. But even though I've increased this up to 65 for user CPU, I've actually increased the line height up to 75 for user and CPU. So then you can actually get those through balls coming in with the line height increased. So obviously with the line height increased, it is easier to sprint down those lines. But with that, your wingers won't be able to really wrap around. You know, it doesn't make it that easy to wrap around. That's sort of, you want to stop that from happening, because once you start wrapping around, then there's too many goals happening. We've got the line length at 34 for user and CPU, line width of 47 for user and CPU, fullback position all the way increased up to 78 for user and CPU. I've got my power bar on 52. You can have this at whatever you want really. You can have this at 50, up to 55, even 60 if you want. It is quite difficult with it on 50, so I had to increase it up to 52. But again, it's just whatever your preference. First touch control error on 60 for user and CPU. Now that's it for the longer halves. Let's get in the short game sliders. So for my short game sliders, I was using these sliders on 5-minute halves, but you can also use these on 4 minutes and 6-minute halves. Obviously the difficulty level is legendary, and again, competitive mode on off and player-based difficulty on off. Same camera settings, just a couple changes in the CPU sliders. So same tackle aggression, build up speed increased by 2, shot frequency up by 2. I think the rest are all the same, with first touch pass frequency on 50, crossing frequency on 70, dribble frequency on 35, and skill move frequency on 50. Moving on to the simulation settings, so we've got the sprint speed on 40 for both user and CPU, again the acceleration on 49 for user, 50 for CPU, shot error on 60 for the user team, 61 for the CPU team, pass error on 58 for user, 61 for the CPU, so that's just one less pass error for the CPU from my last version. Shot speed still on 49 for user and CPU, 45 pass speed for the user side and the 46 for the CPU. Injury frequency on 60 for user and CPU. Severity on 30 for user and CPU. Goal ability on 50 for user and CPU. Marking on 68 for user and 66 for CPU. So this is one of the biggest changes in the short game sliders. So I've lowered the marking for the user team from 70 down to 68 and increased the marking from 65 to 66 for the CPUs. So just trying to make it a lot more difficult. You still can put this up to 68 for the CPU team, and of course you can chuck this down by a couple, but I wouldn't increase it by any more than 2. Got the run frequency on 65 for the user and CPU, line height on 75 for the user and CPU, line length on 35 for user and CPU, line width on 47 for user and CPU, fullback position I've kept this the same at 78 for user and CPU. If you like tactics where your fullbacks go up at the line a lot, you can chuck this up to 80, which is quite good. Got the power bar on 52 again, as well as it's your preference. You can chuck this up to 55, up to 60 if you want, if you're still struggling with these sliders. Again, if you've changed the marking a little bit to make it harder and it's still finding it a little bit too easy, chuck this down to 50. And then I got the first touch control error on 55 for using CPU. So I'm not sure if I will be updating these again before FC26. Maybe, maybe not, depending on title updates. If they're really going to change a lot, I will make some changes to these sliders, but if not, I won't be making any changes. But I will be updating play career mode sliders, goalkeeper career mode sliders, tactical view again. I'll probably go world class again, maybe professional, maybe ultimate as well. But if you find any problems with these sliders, please let me know. If there's too many goals, not enough goals, if it's too easy, too hard, or there's something in the gameplay you just think is a little bit unrealistic, please tell me. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. I'll catch you guys later.